Okay, shalom, brothers and sisters. You are now tuned in TMHC TV, where here it's about family, knowledge, love, and most of all, respect. I'm your host, Danyalah. First off, we want to apologize to the people who've been having some technical difficulties, like technical issues or whatever, but we trying to get it worked out. But we having right now we call discussions with the brothers, and the topic of the discussion is what is the difference between the One West and the RBG Hebrew or the Israelites. Um, so right now, hit the like button, the subscribe button, the share button, share it to the brothers and sisters so they can hear this powerful information that we're about to drop. We got brothers on the panel like D Red, the blue collar scholar. We got Divine Prospect. We got Brother James and Priest Danyalah. So we're gonna start the show off by letting each one of the brothers come in, introduce themselves, and tell the audience a little bit about themselves, and then we'll just jump right into the subject. So we're gonna let I guess Priest Danyalah start it off. So brother, come in and tell the people a little bit about yourself. Okay, I think he may have lost signal. So Brother Divine, you come in then.
Okay. Shalom, shalom. Want to first give all honor and praise to the Most High Yah, and Yeshua ben Yosef on Mashiach. I want to thank the brothers Gedaliah and D Red for inviting me onto this platform on tonight. I decided to do it because of the solidarity between me and those brethren, and also with me and Priest Danyalah, Warrior Perry Hebrew, and now James is on the line with us now.
Y'all can hear me?
It's,
Okay, I think you kind of cutting out, Brother Divine. I think you kind of cutting out on us.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yes, we can hear you, Danyalah.
Y'all can hear me?
All right, let me drop and come back.
Yeah, I can hear you, Danyalah.
Yeah, we hear everybody. We hear everybody. Everybody cool.
Yeah, everybody good.
I apologize, Kings. I'm saying this. My phone is a little jacked up. I apologize. I don't have much to say. I've never been one that's been, loquacious and long-winded when it comes to these interviews. I'm more about the information than I am about talking. My name is Daniela. I'm a brother. What I'm saying, that's it. I'm saying, I love all Israel. I love all you brothers and the work that everybody's putting in. What I'm saying? Of course, we have differences and we all come from different schools of thought. We all had different elders that brought us into this truth. And, I respect you brothers. And, I've learned a lot from you brothers, regardless of the fact that I come from a One West background and I have certain things that I'm resolute and I stand strong on. I can honestly say I've learned a lot from yourself. I'm talking about Divine, Nasi Yashuvel, Morey Yeshaya. Doesn't matter what perspective you come from. I'm open to truth. It's all about truth. If you're dealing with this knowledge as far as being an Israelite, it should be about teaching truth. Being as close to the truth as you possibly could be. It's written in the Apocrypha that we should teach this truth exactly, meaning that it should be exactly truth. So if there's a perspective that I particularly have and it's not dealing with truth, I have to be open to the truth, regardless of whether it's what I was taught or not. So that's the perspective that I have. That's the mentality that I have. And I try to keep my mind open at all times to whatever is out there. There's certain areas that I don't compromise on, but there's other areas that I do compromise on if the truth can be presented to me. So I'm all about that. And I'm just gonna pass it on to the next brother.
Okay, Brother James, you want to come in and tell the people about you and a little bit
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
First, I want to give all praises to the Most High, first and foremost, and then I want to thank y'all for even inviting me here. And I want to say that I'm honored to be on here with such esteemed panelists. because I've learned a lot from all these brothers, and I got a lot of respect for them. And I'm not a One West cat. I would more slide to the RBG side of things, and like I'm not a person who is, trying to put up like barriers or anything between sides or not. I believe that long as we both can say we believe in the Messiah and that we gonna obey the law, statutes, and commandments, then that's the only thing that really truly matters, and that we're walking out this walk, you know. So I mean, that's where I stand on it, And I know there's differences, and I'm willing to talk about them. But again, like I said, I ain't trying to put up any barriers.
Okay. Brother D Red, you want to come in?
Oh yeah, man. What it do, baby? It's your boy D Red, the blue collar scholar, man. Uh, I will be classified as what you would call first of all, let me say, you know what I'm saying? I give all praise to the Most High, man, and you know, and to the Messiah. And I just want to say that yeah, I would be classified as a RBG Israelite, a proponent of Black liberation theology. Uh, I I follow, the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey. Uh, shoot, Edward Wilmot Blyton, uh, the first proponent of nationalism, Black nationalism. I follow the teachings of Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, uh, Richard Allen, and I could go on and on, but I just leave that there and just say I'm RBG, but I'm an Israelite first, so that's it. And Gadiah, you tell us about you.
Oh, and I'd like to
Okay.
finish when he's done, if y'all don't mind, because I think I got cut out.
Okay. Well, I'm Brother Gadiah. I'm basically kind of new into all this. I'm learning a lot from all the brothers that's on the panel, and I really appreciate the information that they bring forward. We got some very powerful brothers that just bring a lot of information. Um, from what I'm hearing, I guess I fall more over towards the One West side. I really don't see it, like that. It's just we get through into these different boxes or whatever, and but for me, it's just being an Israelite and coming into the truth and understanding who we are and putting the work in for the Most High, and basically, gathering all the brothers and sisters together and doing His will. So that's basically where I'm at. I'm just, here to, talk with the brothers and just see where everybody at and build and move forward and, just do what we got to do. So that's basically where I'm at. So, Brother Divide, you can come on in.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, I started off some of my introduction, just giving thanks to the brothers for allowing me to speak on the platform, and also thanks to the Most High Yah and Yeshua ben Yosef, or the Mashiach. Also coming on this platform, like I said, I wanted to come in the spirit of solidarity and the spirit of modesty and respect for my fellow brothers and panel members on the line. I will be classified also as an RBG Hebrew Israelite. I have a fundamental Israelite ideology that's rooted and grounded in Torah, and that is fulfilled also by the Mashiach, or the Messiah, who we call Yahweh Shai, Yahushua ben Yosef. Also, in regards to RBG, I follow a lot of the tenets of Marcus Messiah Garvey and a lot of the other Black nationalists that came over the years subsequent to him and have actually pushed this idea of Black nationalism. I like to codify Black nationalism by kind of like condensing it into culture and autonomy, and that's pretty much my position. And the objective of using Torah is in the same mindset of concept of Black nationalism, is that once we establish culture, which we can find codified in the scriptures, then we can set up autonomy, or a way to govern our own communities and our own culture, and to preserve it and pass it down to secret generations, the way the Most High has told us that we should in the book of Devarim or Deuteronomy, that we should teach it to our children. So we should have these paradigms or blueprints that we lay out, that we're actually either building upon or laying out for the next generation to build themselves. And that way we can come together as one body or one unit as we're waiting our redemption here on the earth. So I think this is a wonderful discussion. I look forward to learning on the line of tonight. and also to contribute to the knowledge base that will be put forth, and to just grow, just like everybody else. And with that, I again, I appreciate being added to the platform, and I look forward to the discussion.
Okay, brother Danyalah, I know you also, you got something that you got to do. You want to add anything on top of what brother Divine just said?
Nah, I think that was well spoken, well said, and everything he said, I agree. I can't argue with anything he said. I agree with it. So we can just go right on in.
Okay, well, D-Red, we're gonna let you start this off since you was a brother that pretty much came up with the show idea and wanted to discuss the issue, discuss this topic. So I'm gonna get a flow to you.
All right. I would like to ask Danyalah, like, what would be your what would you think? What do you think about RBG Israelites? What do you think about? What do you know about them? Do you have any questions for them? But I'd like to first start with what is your viewpoint on the RBG Israelites?
I don't, say, I don't have as much information as I probably should about all the particular, the particular most important topics. I don't know, so I don't want to give an answer yet. I'm here to learn. I'm here to understand exactly where you brothers come from. Although, having done events with my brother Divine and having spoken to him on several occasions, we agree on a lot of things. As I've already stated, I've learned a lot of things from that brother. That brother's very deep, very knowledgeable, very researched. So I can't really give too much of an answer. I really do apologize. I can say that probably we agree more than you would believe, although I am a One West Israelite, meaning that I came up in One West. But I'm not married to anything that's not truth, So, getting right down into it, if someone were to ask me, do I believe that Israel is in Africa? The answer is yes. And I'm a One West Israelite. I'm probably one of the most well-known One West Israelites. But I believe that Israel is in Africa because it's just a fact. And I'm more married to the facts than I am to a particular doctrine, And I've always told brothers, and there's other One West Israelites that agree with me also. I've always told brothers that the teaching that we're not African should be more modified to say that we're not Hamitic, because we know that the Hamites not only dwelt in Africa, but also they dwelt in the promised land that we were given. They would dwell there as well. So to say that we're not African is just to talk about the land of Africa, but these so-called Africans or the Hamites didn't just dwell in Africa, they actually dwelt in our homeland or our promised land. The Most High promised us as well. So you have to evolve as information is brought to you, regardless of what you were taught by your elders. And I have the utmost respect for my elders. So I'm here to learn from you brothers exactly where you stand, and then as I understand where you stand on particular issues, I can say I agree or I disagree. You see what I'm saying? That's for me. I don't have enough information where brothers stand to really give a really good, answer as to whether I agree with you or not. So I don't want to do that just yet, if you don't mind. I apologize.
That's no problem. That's no problem. Okay, now what would you think is the biggest misconception about One West Israelites?
I think the biggest misconception is that we don't study. I think that's one of the biggest things I hear. Also, one of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that we don't speak Hebrew, we don't understand Hebrew. All those are misconceptions. maybe some of the people that are actually in the forefront that you see the most often may not be the most learned, because unfortunately in this day and time, some of the bigger platforms, they deal with people that have been in the truth maybe 10 years, you know, and length of time has nothing to do with being in the truth. I want to put that out there as well. But, you know, sometimes the bigger platforms, they deal with people that are not really learned in particular areas. And because they may represent a certain, you know, a certain group or a certain, like for instance, you say One West Israelites, they may come from that branch, you know, then it's therefore put out that all of us don't read, all of us don't study, all of us don't speak Hebrew, all of us have no understanding. But I think that anybody that's honest with themselves, that looks at my presentations, looks at what I present, realize I read a lot, I study a lot, and I do have a rudimentary understanding of the Hebrew. I would not say that I'm the most knowledgeable. That's a lie. I think that's one of the biggest lies that's out there. And most things that I teach, I can give you the sources where I get the information from. Like, I don't bring nothing out that I just say it just because I heard somebody, my elders say it or somebody else say it. So I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. And even with that being said, I don't kid myself to know everything. None of us know everything, you know. So that's pretty much one of the biggest misconceptions. We don't read, we don't research, we don't have sources of the things that we teach. It's a lot. Pretty much. I'll just leave it at that for now.
10-4. Gadiah, since you would fall into the One West category, what do you think? Especially with you being in the Midwest and not so much in the New York tri-state area, what are the misconceptions you face or you deal with in being that you're in the Midwest?
Well, I think it's just understanding who we are. You know, I don't really have to deal with a lot of people around here that's like saying they're you know, that they're really in the truth or whatever. So I don't really have a lot of those issues. It's just like when I'm online or something dealing with different issues, I get pushed back because I come like through GOCC, you would say. So with that being said, you know, we just get pushed back in all kind of areas. But at the same time, I think it's a misconception about all the groups. I mean, whether you call yourself RBG or One West, I think we all when we looked at as a whole, we all put in the same box. They don't really see the differences. It's only between us that we actually realize these different things and the different understanding of it. But to me, we all family, so I kind of just don't see it as One West versus RBG or any of this. I see it as a big family that's made up of different parts. So I don't really face nothing like that. You know, I come at it from that angle. That's how I deal with my brothers. You know, like we family. I don't even look at like the background of how you got to where you are. You know, just as long as you coming along, because this is a process where we all growing and we learning. So that's kind of where I'm at. So that's kind of, you know, me. But go ahead, brother. I think I want to hear, like, because I'm learning this as I go, you know what I'm saying? So I want to hear, like, what would be the differences? Like, what would the RBG be really considered of? Only thing I could really think of when I think about that, it's like when you hear, well, when the people misunderstand, we say we not African, you know what I'm saying? And we not, Africans. You know, they take it as we saying we not from Africa. That's the biggest part I get. You know, we ain't saying that we not from Africa. We're just saying that all black people are not Hamitic. And I think that's the biggest part that's not being, that's not getting across to the people, because they can't separate us being from the land of Africa and being Shemitic versus being Hamitic. And I think, we can get these issues ironed out, then we can get the information over to the people better. They'll receive it more better without, attacking the fact that we're not African. So I'm not even with that anyway. But I'm more want to understand like the RGB side of it and why would it be a difference between the One West and the RBG?
All right, Divine. We're gonna get up. We're gonna get off into that, but I want to ask Divine now, and I'm gonna get to James after Divine. Divine, what do you think is the biggest misconception about RBG Israelites that you've dealt with?
I think the biggest misconception is that we compromise our foundation or tenets of faith for the safety or for the sake of diplomacy, right? So I think that that is the biggest misconception, that a lot of people think that we've compromised our foundations that's rooted in scriptures for the sake of diplomacy. Um, and the issue with that is that, when you look in the scriptures of the Israelites being in captivity, which we are currently in now, the Israelites did many things, diplomatically speaking, for the sake of their own people. We see this happen in the book of Esther. We see this happen in the book of Nehemiah, the book of Ezra. We see this happen during the Greco-Roman period, even during the Babylonian period, which most people are not familiar with. The Israelites has always been diplomatic in working with other groups of people for the betterment of their own community. So the objective of us coming to the table with various other black nationalist groups or groups that may be situated in Africa is the express purpose of retrieving resources, all right, by the means of trade, communication, skill sets, etc., so that way we can bring it back to our Israelite community and build that community as well. So we are very into solidarity with many melanated people who do have affluence and advocacy in their various areas, whether they're diplomats of various nations, or whether they're dealing with farmland, whether they're dealing with security, whether they're dealing with land ownership, or whether they're dealing with any kind of like big type of contracts in any type of degree. These are all resources that the indigenous Israelite communities here in America needs to better ourselves. So what we've learned is that a way to navigate the intricacies of the bureaucracy and the red tape, so that way we can come to the table with these individuals without brandishing our Israelite foundations in their face, but speaking to them on a political level, because that is what the commonality is that we have as quote unquote black people. And we don't get it twisted. We understand that we are our own tribe. So when we say that we're African, we're saying that we've been on a continent of Africa longer than we've been in the land of Israel, right? So we say that to say that that would make us similar to the other many tribes that are in West Africa, because a lot of those tribes in West Africa has migrated from East Africa, and some even from the Levantine region. So we're one of those many tribes that migrated into West Africa and settled in West Africa and lived amongst the natives and indigenous tribes and people that were there. And via our I would say our doctrine, or what our teaching is, we're able to identify those who we considered who are Hamites and those who are considered Shemites. The Shemites will more than likely be the Israelites that settle amongst the natives, and in doing so, we've adopted some of their customs, right? Because we've been disconnected from our homeland. So we've adopted some of their customs, even they have adopted some of our customs, and we lived amongst them. Like my brother priest Danyalah has said earlier, when the Israelites had left out of Mizraim, they left out as a mixed multitude, right? Because we know that Yosef, he had an Egyptian wife and bore Ephraim and Manasseh, and they were half Hamite, but they were following the lineage of the seed of their father. That's why they were considered and numbered amongst Israel. But even when we went into the land of Israel, the Israelites did not follow the commands of the Most High, and they even married amongst the Hamites that were there, the Canaanites. So we know that the Israelites have always been in some way interconnected with the Hamites, in their history, they were told to be separate. Why? Because culture is what makes you distinct amongst other tribes. Culture teaches you the safeguards to protect and preserve what it is that you establish. Culture teaches you how to govern yourselves. Culture teaches you the laws and bylaws. It teaches you the beliefs, the perceptions, your worldview. So the Israelites had that the Most High had given them by way of Torah. And what happened was they started to compromise a lot of that when we was amongst the other nations. So what we're saying is that, as an RBG Hebrew Israelite, we do not compromise our foundational stance in Torah. Us making the claim that we're from the lineage of the line of Yaakov, or we call it Israel, or Yasharallah, and being that we lived in West Africa amongst the other West African tribes by virtue of staying on that continent for X amount of time, we are considered Africans. And we work with those other tribes, other nations there, because they have resources that we can bring back to our Israelite communities, so that way we can get busy. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what we do. We are about solidarity, so that way we can amass resources to build our community and to better be able to live out Torah, because the more resources we have, the better we can do. And I'll leave it off on this last example. The last example I want to make, so that way people can kind of get some insight in regards to the RBG community. Aside from a lot of the tenets of Black nationalism that was taught by Marcus Garvey, we would look into the scriptures. So when we see a situation when the Most High is telling the Israelites to come back to rebuild the land while they were in Persian captivity, they just did their 70 years in Babylon. They're coming into Persian captivity. Cyrus makes a decree where he says that he's going to allow the Israelites to go back to the land to rebuild. The Israelites were intricately involved in that Persian community, and because of such, because they had a degree of affluence, influence, because their integrity was known by the Persians that was amongst them, they were allowed the opportunity and the resources. The Most High he intervened in that matter, but it was because of the character and the integrity and the diplomacy of the Israelites that lived amongst the Persians, that they were allowed to get the resources necessary, and they were allowed to get the decree necessary to go back and rebuild the city, the walls, and the temple. So we have to understand that while we're in captivity, limitations are placed amongst what we can do or what we can fully express in regards to our culture, and that full limitation will never be removed, because we're going to be in perpetual captivity until we get redeemed. But in the interim, one thing that my brother Uziah, who's not on the line tonight, he made a quote saying breathing room. Well, what is breathing room? Breathing room is when Israelites who are in various aspects of society are able to make changes in those areas for the betterment of their people, the same way that Esther did. And the purpose of breathing room is to ensure a degree of our preservation until we are redeemed. Because while we're still going through Jacob's trouble and the future persecution, we need resources to build and strengthen our communities while this stuff is going on. And if we don't take advantage of the liberty, which is limited freedom that we have now, to gather resources and bring it back to the community to make us strong and to ensure that our roots are deep enough so that way we can weather the storm, then we're not going to really stand much of a fighting chance. And there's going to be less of us holding on to the truth than others, because when you have the resources, it alleviates your carnal concerns and allows you to be more spiritually focused on being led by the Most High. So I just hope that paradigm that I shared, or that model that I shared, is a good way just to lay the foundation for discussion, so that people won't get too many misconceptions in regards to who we are, why we do what we do, because the ultimate thing what we're trying to do is contribute back to our community.
Well said, well said. All right, Brother James, same question goes for you. What do you think is the biggest misconception about
Uh,
RBG Israelites?
well, I'm gonna have to go right along the same lines that Brother Divine went along, because of the fact that I believe that in the scriptures, the Most High often uses politics. He often uses, like, for example, when we're talking about when Moses had to go before the Pharaoh. It was a political matter. The Most High was making his political case for his people's freedom, and he was battling against the gods of Egypt. That's why the Most High said, "I will judge the gods," because they were battling against them. But that was a political move, and we went before the people and we were demanding certain rights as we went along, and then we were demanding our freedom to go and express ourselves the way we wished to. And the Most High sent us to do that, and he honored that and freed us from that captivity. And I believe that that is a model that we still are to follow, which means we have to start practicing what the scriptures tell us to do, like group economics, doing things along those lines, starting community gardens, getting into rehabbing and building houses and things of that matter, which is what the Most High tells us to do while we're in captivity anyway. Get some farms going, you know, start bringing in some money for the community to actually be able to make the political moves necessary for us to demand our freedom in the same way that Moses did. And I just believe that it's important we make those steps. And the only other things may be like slight interpretations, but I would have the same type of argument there with an RBG brother that I can have with a One West brother about, you know, different interpretation of scriptures and the way I view it. So I don't look at it, you know, again, as anything to really, you know, be a big difference. I mean, like I said, being an RBG brother is like being out here in guerrilla warfare. You know what I mean? You kind of running your own thing. You have other units that you work with, but y'all all kind of doing y'all own thing, but it's all to achieve the same type of goal. You know, and that's what guerrilla warfare is about. And that's what I kind of see RBG brothers as, you know what I'm saying? A movement that everyone does their own thing, but it's all going to come together because we know we're being led by the Most High to do something for our people. And that motivates us to keep moving and going forth, which would be the same thing that will motivate any Israelite brother. But again, I think the stance is politics, because I know that a lot of One West brothers, from a lot that I've seen and studied, they're against being any way involved with any type of world system at all whatsoever. And I don't think that that is the approach that the Most High ever had us take against anything. Because again, like for instance, the Ark of the Covenant that we had, other nations had arks too that seated their deities as well. That's a political move. That's why the Most High had us make an Ark of the Covenant. So I believe that it's very important for us to have politics, seek to achieve, you know, high levels in not only education, but also in business, because we need to be able to bring that back to our community and kind of, you know, bring it all together to help fund the things that our community needs. You know what I mean? I think like certain RBG movements were put there for us to learn from. Like, look at what the Black Panthers did with WIC. You know what I mean? They did that and the government had to take it because it was so effective. We should be able to start bringing that back to our community. But it all starts with us doing group economics, you know, coming together, agreeing on making a certain move and then doing it. And if you have other brothers that are good in other things, we need to start putting some money behind that, you know. And, you know, it could be like a corporation you set up, you put in stock, you get stock in the corporation. So you're getting funded for the money you're putting in. You ain't just throwing your money out there. You know, it's so many things we could do as a community. And I think that that's more of where I see the RBG side leaning to. Not to take away saying One West wouldn't be down to put in all the work with the, you know, housing and different stuff like that. But I mean, just making it all come together as a strong political move for our people. And that's about it.
Okay, brother James. Okay, all right. Okay, well, since you basically segued into the whole some of the differences, uh, you know, on this platform we pride ourselves on the bringing all the black family together. You know what I mean? Whether you're Israelite, a Moor, Muslim, Orthodox Muslim, whatever, we trying to figure out a way to unite us so we can achieve some of those goals that you were saying. But in order for us to get to that particular point, we're gonna have to address the things that we had, the misconceptions. We're gonna have to talk about our differences and find the things that we have in common, so we can work towards a common goal. So, what would you consider, for based upon what you know? Because I know you're in Houston. I've already said down here we don't have a lot of One West Israelites. So, based upon that's why I'm starting with you first, because based upon us being here, what would you consider a difference? And we'll start with you, then we'll go to Divine.
Well, I understand what you're saying definitely about that. These things that our differences do need to be talked about. They do need to be sorted out between each other because I believe that as a unified nation, we need to have a doctrine built on not our different interpretation, but like what Brother Divine was saying earlier, but laying out the facts, and then everyone can, do their own thing. Each man should be able to rule his household and say how his, how he sees scripture and dictate that to his household. That is that man's right. And his child has a right to grow up, learn what he has, and then develop from there. So I think that's very important that we see that, when we're talking to each other. So just to go into what I would see as a major difference would be, I mean, like I said, it's hard to say. We agree on the Messiah, we agree on the laws. I don't think there should be anything to stop us from moving forward with doing anything united, as long as we agree on Torah. That is our theocratic constitution as it stands. So, I mean, that should be all necessary to be a part of the nation of Israel and make any type of economic or political move. But again, like I said, the arguments that I could have with those brothers are the same that I could have with the RBG brother, for instance. Uh, Priest Danyalah and Divine Prospect both believe that Joseph is the biological father of Jesus. I don't believe that. But I know that every One West brother, for the most part, comes up with that, while you have the RBG brothers where we're divided on that. So that would be one of the bigger things, because some people can take it along the lines of that being something that's blasphemous from either side of the argument. So, I mean, that'll be one thing that I think would need to be ironed out, and at least understood completely by both sides, each other's stance, so we can move forward and build. Because that's something that could be, a firecracker that starts off anything at a moment. We passionate about what we believe in.
Okay, that was good. That was good, Brother Divine. Can you piggyback on that question? What do you think are some of the differences? Then after that we'll go to Priest Daniel.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, good. What I was gonna say is a lot that was expressed earlier by James. I agree with. Me and him seem to be on the same page in regards to the political nature of the RBG Hebrew Israelite movement. But then at the same time, we know that we have numerators in regards to our various sects and what we teach. He had mentioned the virgin birth, and there's a division amongst us in regards to the virgin birth. I'm not a proponent of it. I know my brother James is a proponent of it because I've heard him speak on it before, and I've spoken my stance on it before. And I know Priest Danyalah doesn't subscribe to the virgin birth either, which is interesting because then you start to see that there's even more or slightly more, commonalities and slightly more differences as you trickle down. But it begins to become some minute things that really doesn't affect nationhood, right? So I would say it's mostly like doctrine. We all agree on Torah. We know that Torah is the fundamental constitution that governs us as a people, as a community, as a nation of Israelites. We all know that there's a degree of oppression, right? And the difference would be, some of my One West brothers that I highly respect, and Danyalah is one of them, and Hashad's another brother that I build with, Tazariak, and a couple other brothers that I actually build with. Their stance is that, Esau is the ruling power, and they say Esau as a quote unquote white man. You'll see that RBG Hebrew Israelites, we also identify that there's an oppressive force. We label it as white supremacy. Now, the lineage of those oppressors, we may differ on. I tend to say that those individuals are from the lineage of Japheth, and I believe that the true Edomites are the so-called Ashkenazim, or those who are falsely called Jews today, who are working hand in hand with the lineage of Japheth to promote white supremacy, to oppress us as a so-called black people here in America. And that right there will cause like a slight divide in regards to doctrinal stances, because our tenets of faith would slightly differ. You know, we have some people that have various pronunciations on the name of the Most High. Some people say Ahaya, some people say Yahweh, some people say Yahuwah, some people say Jehovah. You know, so there's different names as what we call upon the Most High. Me being diplomatic and not wanting to be dogmatic in my own personal position to disconnect myself from working with my other brothers, I would say something that is common to us that we agree upon, which is the Most High. So you'll hear me say the Most High if I'm in an environment when I'm trying to build with my brothers, because I don't want to spew anything that will purposely cause contention, that will refrain us from actually working together. I see the brothers in One West very strong. You know, a lot of times their biggest strength is going on the street corners. And now I've seen, maybe in the past couple of years, with me being an Israelite, they're getting into the academic realm more so. They've always been well-studied brothers, whether I've agreed with them or not, but I've seen an evolution. And I'm glad that the Most High has Priest Danyalah on the line tonight, because you know, anytime I hear brothers talk about One West, and I may even express some of my disagreements, I tell them, I said, listen, there's like maybe 5 brothers that I know in One West that are very astute in their studies. So, and before they will be able to say, oh, they teach this and they teach that, I said, wait, hold on. You need to go and listen to these brothers, because these are the think tanks within that community. And Brother Danyalah is one of them, because me and him have had personal conversations. I've seen his presentations. Now, I know he used to do I used to see him when he was on the 149th and 3rd Avenue in that area when I was in the Bronx when I was a Christian, and I actually had like 2 kind of dialogues with him in the past, and this is before I was an Israelite, you know, and what I was expecting was that these brothers was gonna curse me out and kick me to the turban and all of that, but he was actually diplomatic, him and his camp. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think it just depends upon what spirit a person brings to them that they actually, you know, restitute back to them. But he actually, him and I forgot the other officer that was with him, actually broke down some of the scriptures to me, and I had a more contentious spirit than them, because I'm like, all these brothers don't know what they're talking about, this, and that. But I didn't come off in the wrong way, but I was kind of like questioning some of the doctrine. But I saw that they were well studied, and it was because of that that caused me to go back and reevaluate what my position is. So, you know, a lot of the differences will be doctrinal differences in regards to tenet of faith about, you know, who the white man is today. Is the white man so-called Esau? Is he Japheth? Another thing, like the brother James mentioned, would be the virgin birth. Another thing would be the doctrine on Hamites. You know, are we to hate the Hamites? Are we to embrace the Hamites? So that way we can work with them on a political scale so we can better our community. Some brothers say we shouldn't deal with the Hamites at all. Some say yes, we should deal with them only so that way we can exchange resources for the betterment of our community. We have other doctrinal issues that some people have brought up, like, you know, the fact of King James. You know, is King James a black man? Is he a white man? If he was black, you know, why didn't he intercede in regards to the transatlantic slave trade? Some people say that, you know, that happened after he died and so forth. So, you know, you'll hear a lot of these things in regards to doctrinal beliefs once you trickle down and look at the branches, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, our solidarity comes with nation building, comes with the Constitution of Torah, us understanding that brotherhood is important, us understanding that we have to preserve our culture in the midst of captivity, us identifying an oppressor, whether we say that's Esau, whether we say that's white supremacy, we understand that there's something that's oppressing us, and we have to get back to the statute, laws, and commandments of the Most High as Israelites in order for us to have a fighting chance. And these are mainly most of the tenets. You know, even me, I'm very open to learn. And I'm not ashamed to say that I've heard Priest Danyalah teach some stuff that I was just, you know, just opposed to. And after he put forth his sources, I've never seen some of those things. I had to go back and research it. So what that did was I started to become silent on certain matters now because I still got to research it, because I'm like, wow, you know, I didn't really see this before, but the brother brought it out. So, you know, I had to be equally as open. So the same way that I will push for my One West brothers to be more academic, when they become more academic and they disseminate that information, guess what? It causes me to become more academic and say, wow, you know what? They taught me something. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. There was an event that we had last November in New York called Desperta. And we had the brothers that was teaching some information in regards to who the natives were over here, and if there were chances that they were Israelites, doing so without using the scriptures. And what I will have to say was, I was really thrown back by the information that the brothers Mala'ak and the brother Awanyasap brought forth, because a lot of the data they showed I just wasn't aware of. So I said to myself, you know what? This would be the issue if I was so stuck in dogma that I would just completely dismiss these brothers. But because I have a diplomatic ear, I said, you know what? These brothers have something that I can tap into. Let me sit and let me actually listen, have an ear to hear to see what it is they're disseminating, because I've learned that it actually helped build me. So, it all has to do with us having, being active listeners, and us understanding the strengths and weaknesses that we have. And if I have a weakness, I go to those brothers for strength, and vice versa. So I just want to leave off with our my One West brethren, just to let them know that the objective of us as RBGs is nationalism by way of diplomacy, because we need resources while we're in captivity for us to survive, because a lot of brothers still drive, a lot of brothers, sisters, or some of them are on EBT, some of them on welfare. All of us need to eat, right? Some of us travel, some of us need passports, we need to travel. Some of us have our kids in public school. You know what I'm saying? So we are integrated into the society, whether we like it or not. We know that's one of the curses. But while we're in the society, what can we do so we can be politically sound and bringing back those resources back to our community so we can govern ourselves, so that way we won't be wholly independent on our oppressor? You know what I'm saying? Because we still to some degree have to be dependent, but how much of that dependency can we put back into our own hands so that way we can control our culture, preserve it, and pass it on to the next generation?
Okay.
What, Danyalah,
Can I add, hold on before you go? Let me add something to that just for 1 second.
go ahead, brother.
All right, thank you. Because there is one more thing that I could think of that could be a difference. It would be the indigenous African perspective through which we view, the heavens itself, or as we view God and the angels or whatnot. Because I believe that me and the brother Divine were more henotheistic in our approach, which would be along the lines of, if you think of African culture, think about like Nyame. When you're dealing with West Africa, you think about Nyame. That means the mighty sky god or something like that, along those lines. Which, I mean, I would view that along the lines of, okay, well, this is the sky god or the king of all gods, the creator of all gods. So I understand that from this concept that our creator is this God who they speak of. But when you look at it more along the lines, the ones they follow in the different priesthoods, it's not many who actually follow that chief deity. They follow other deities within this pantheon. And that's the way I kind of see, the Hebrew perspective as being in its indigenous roots, that it being a pantheon. Our God is the king of all gods. Other nations have their own angels. I guess we would relegate them down to angels that stand over that nation, and they rule over that nation, which we can see alluded to in the book of Daniel, how the angel of Persia was fighting Michael to keep him from getting to Daniel. So it's kind of like we view it through that stance, kind of going on with a full pantheon and our God being that chief deity. And I don't think that One West sees it that way. I think they see it more along the way as just this chief God who's just running the scene, which is true, but they don't look at the other elements that go into it, with the other nations having their own angels or deities over them, governing them as well.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Y'all dropping
okay.
some very powerful information out here. Versus on the differences. I'm not seeing a lot of differences. I'm seeing like I think that would be like throughout both parts, whether it be One West or RBG. But I definitely would like to hear what Priest Danyalah would have to say about the subject too.
Wow. There's so much was said, so much powerful, and y'all gotta stop letting me go after Divine, because after Divine speak, it's like he brings out so much information. I don't know if I'll be able to address everything that he said, but I think the brother James was just talking about henotheism, and he is correct that you know, as far as my understanding of it is that we don't see it the same way. Um, it's written in the book of Psalms that the gods of the nations are idols. So, yes, the other nations worship other gods, but do I see them as being really gods? No, I see them as being idols. You know, the Most High God power, the Most High is the supreme being, the only God. You know, and every other God that's subordinate to him is not God. Not in the terms of not in the terms as we look at the Most High, as far as that's concerned. You know, we can get into the argument about what the word gods mean, and you know, that's a whole nother argument. But as far as being on the level of the Most High as being a God, supreme being, you know, I don't see anybody else or any other power that would match the Most High in any way, shape, or form. As far as I'm concerned, every other god the nations worship are really just idols. They're not really gods at all in any way, shape, or form. But I'm not saying that those brothers are saying I want to put words in their mouth, because I'm pretty sure, you know, knowing the knowledge that Divine has as well as the knowledge that Brother James has, they're not saying that. So I want to put that out there as well. So that's a conversation that we could have, and probably I would say that at the end of the conversation, we probably would agree more than we disagree on the subject. Related to the virgin birth, I stand strong that Joseph and Mary were the biological parents of Christ. I don't deviate from that, and I have a lot of you know, that's based on my understanding of scriptures and precepts. So that is a difference, although it's not a major difference. You know, I always remind people, because I think everybody on the phone, all of us, at least in this conversation, we're all believers of the New Testament. As it is written in Matthew 19, I believe it's the 16th verse, and before Christ, the answer was keep the commandments. So the things that we're discussing that we differ on is not anything that will hinder any of us on this phone from receiving that eternal life to us through Christ, through the Most High. The eternal life that we were promised as a people will not be denied to us because we differ on the things that we're talking about today. So, yes, I believe that Christ did have biological parents. The brother James does not believe that, but that is, again, not something that can hinder him or myself from having eternal life. When I was a little younger in the truth, maybe a few years ago, you know, I didn't look at it that way. I was very, very, very contentious about that thing. But that's what you do when you're young. As you become more seasoned in the truth and you become more sure, you start looking at things a little bit differently and realizing that we have way more in common than we differ on. And if we learn to respect one another and hear one another out, at the very least, we will respect each other's perspective and how we came to that conclusion, even if we don't agree with one another. And I find that as I speak to brothers that give me an intelligent response as to why they might disagree with me, I've learned to respect why they don't disagree with me and how they came to that conclusion, even if I may not agree with them. You see? And that's something that we as Hebrews have learned that was not present amongst us even 10 years ago. You know, I've been in this truth 25 years. And even 10 years ago, we couldn't have had the conversation that we're having tonight. So even in that of itself is a beautiful thing. Moving on to what something else that was not mentioned, you know, and I want to mention it because I think that it's something that people misunderstand about One West, is that the 12 tribe side, I don't know, that's the biggest argument that people have with us. I want people to understand the 12 tribe side, and I'm somebody that came up under the original elders of One West. I'm not secondhand. I didn't hear from nobody else. I learned from the man that made that sign. I was his student. He never said that that sign is the only place. In other words, Puerto Rico is the only place you'll find Ephraim. And Dominican Republic is the only place that you'll find Simeon. And America is the only place that you'll find Gad. He never taught that. I don't care what other people say, because the majority of people that say other things didn't learn from him like I did. Never taught that. We know and pursuant to the book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter, verse 10 on down, and other scriptures throughout the scriptures, Israel is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And the 12 tribes are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. The difference is, and I believe, is that the Israelites that are scattered in the diaspora, with the exception of the Americas, North, Central, South America, The Israelites, they, for the most part, have retained their identity as Israelites. The Israelites that are in Africa, the Israelites that may be in India and different places all throughout the earth, the Israelites that are in Europe, the Israelites that are in China, they remain and kept intact the fact that at the very least, they know that they're Israelites. Some of them even know down to what tribe they come from. But us here in the diaspora of Central and South America, we don't know who we are at all. We have no idea because that was beat out of us. We know the history. I ain't got to go into it. That was beat out of us as a people. So that 12 tribes sign that was created by the elder Ariah, who I learned from, was not to say that you might not find Ephraim in Africa. You may not find Ephraim, a remnant of Ephraim in India and Pakistan and this place and that place in China. That was not to say that. But the ones that are in the Americas, we didn't know who we are. That sign represents those of us in the diaspora who don't know who we are, who have lost that completely. That's what that sign represents, but it never represented the fact that you may not have other Israelites from those same tribes that are scattered throughout. And that's what I embrace. I realize that you have people from all those tribes that are in Africa, that are in India, that are in America, that are in China, in Japan, so forth and so on. We are throughout this diaspora. You see what I'm saying? And that was something that maybe as a younger person I didn't understand. But as somebody that has embraced studying and researching and reading, I realized that we and all the tribes are everywhere. So that's another difference that's out there amongst the many differences that were, presented. So, like the brother Divine said, which I think is a very, very important point, I think what we all have in common is that we all in common have a mutual respect for one another. Therefore, when one of us brings out information, we will listen, we'll go back, we'll research, and we'll come to a conclusion based on the information that we have. That is something I can guarantee you, brothers, depending on how long you've been in this walk, didn't happen 10 years ago. This conversation didn't happen 10 years ago. So it's a beautiful thing that's going on, and I think that we just have to continue down this path and respect one another. Respect is the biggest hurdle for a lot of Israelites. We just don't respect one another. But when I sit back and I watch and I listen to my brother Divine talk, and I look at the information that he brings forth, and I can clearly see that this is a brother that studies and research, you can't help but respect that brother. The same thing goes for my brother James. When I sit back and I look at the presentations that he's made on the brother Basim's show, last two presentations, it's clear that my brother studies and he researches. So I have to respect his knowledge and respect what he's bringing forth. And even if I disagree with him, I can disagree with him from an academic perspective without losing respect for my brother. And therefore, if we have respect for one another, we could build one another and we can go forward. Now, I'm saying I'm unique in the so-called One West community because brothers that have the same time I don't operate the way myself and Hashar operate. I have to bring the brother Hashar in because he's like myself with you brothers. But now when you start getting to some of the other camps who also came up with me, they're not willing to build, and that's a whole different conversation, which is why they're not on the phone talking to you now. And I'm gonna leave it at that. You can continue.
I like to echo that sentiment Danyalah just ended with, because I reached out to some of those brothers, and I'm not gonna go deep into it because over here we try to stay on a positive note, and the brothers that we're building, we're actually learning right now. We're trying to edify each other. So this platform is not for battling and contention and all that. We're trying to build and find common ground so we can work together for the betterment of our people. So, but yeah, I talked to some of those brothers and I reached out, and like the brother said, they don't want, hey, it is what it is. But we got to open arms for those brothers. Anytime those brothers want to talk, we here for them. That's why we built this platform with three guys that don't necessarily, you wouldn't say subscribe to the same thing, but we built on a platform because we feel like we can be an example for Israel that, you don't have to be in the same camp or group or what have you to work together and to be brothers, because it's all about Israel at this point, especially with us dying in these streets right now. It's all about Israel. And so I just want to echo what Brother Danyalah said. Brother Gadiah, what would you consider some of the differences?
Um, Once again, like I say, I don't really see a lot of differences. Like I'm young, I'm new into this, I'm learning, and I learn from all my brothers and all, my family. I learn from my people on all sides, and um, I'm a kind of maybe go off topic a little bit, but it's kind of like I just see an overload of information that's being given to to our people at one time, which creates a difference. You know, we got like our brothers that's been in it for a long time and been teaching for a while, and they was just like maybe just in certain areas within the United States or within the world, and then it's so-called they come along the internet, and you get this social media platform where now we can share information at a fast rate, and we just we able to communicate with each other and get the information out, and it's just a overflow of information that I think is what's causing the differences. Because I don't see difference, I just see brothers, sisters waking up out of an out of a sleep state and coming back to consciousness of who we are, and in doing that, we having to go back and tear down all the lies and things that was done to us and rebuild and find and find the truth and bring it all together. So that's basically where I'm at. I'm just trying to put a platform together, like we say, so we can bring this knowledge to the table without having a fight, what I'm saying, each other about getting it out, so we can iron out these differences and see that we family, and we all in this together, and we got to build and take the information and put it together and let it do what it do, and use information to bring us out of this slavery state of mind, or this slavery state that we in, or this state we in because of what happened with our ancestors by breaking the laws and not keeping the laws. And so we got to get back to that. And I think, like we say, we all Torah based. We know the law is what governs us, and with that, it shouldn't really be a problem for us to come together. But when you do get into the things like the virgin birth and all that, that do become an issue. But that's like for the, as my brother priest Danyalah was saying, that's for when you not seasoned real good in this, and you just come into the information as you grow and learn and start to understand the plan. You see how we can work together and despite our differences, and that's really what it's all about. So I'm gonna let you come back in on that.
All right, we're gonna start with Brother Danyalah. Uh, what do you think that? How do we move forward? I mean, you probably have the most seasoned veteran of the bunch of all of us on here. So I want to lead out with you. What do you? How do we move forward as a nation with separate factions? How do we move forward?
I apologize, because I have my phone on mute, so it takes me a moment to take it off. I think what we're doing right now is exactly how we move forward. The first thing that we have to do is we have to be able to talk to one another. For so long, depending on how long each of you has been in the truth, I'm saying, maybe you've experienced this, maybe you've not. We as Israelites, we just haven't talked. We were always at war with one another. When I have conversations with my brother Nasi Yashuvel, his father Prince Sapor, Prince Nathaniel, brothers, that are Torah based. I hear the stories, which I know because I was there, about how the wars that we as Israelites have had. We didn't talk, and it's only now that we begin to bring down the walls and we begin to talk. The brothers are even beginning to understand that we as Israelites that embrace the new covenant, I'm talking about all of us on the phone, they realize that even though we embrace the new covenant, we still accept and believe in Torah, and that we're all Torah based, that we all believe in keeping the commandments. They didn't even know that about us. As far as they were concerned, we were no different than the Christians simply because we embraced the new covenant. So just based on that conversation, And the conversation that myself and Divine had that night at Shemai, even though to a certain extent the conversation went left, right? The brothers that were really sincere about and really listening to what it is the Divine was saying, and I was saying, how Shaw was saying, came back to us, said, you know, I didn't really realize that y'all brothers didn't teach those particular scriptures like the way the Christians teach them, that you guys actually believe a lot of things that we believe. They weren't open to it because as far as they were concerned, we would believe in the new covenant, they wasn't. But once we came together and we built a relationship first, and I think this is very, very important. I'm going to end it with this. We, myself, Divine, Hashar, so forth and so on, we built a friendship and a relationship with those particular Torah brothers, base brothers. I'm talking about Shammai, I'm talking about Nasi, Yashavel, Kashub, Danai. We built a friendship first. We didn't talk about no doctrine, no scriptures. And once we became friends, the ears became open to what it is that we were actually teaching. And although they may still hold the perspectives that they had originally, at least they now understand based on what they have told me. And Divine can speak on this about what they've told him. At least they have the respect for the fact that we don't teach the things that they thought we taught. We're not Christians. We embrace Torah. We believe in Torah. We believe in keeping the commandments, so forth and so on. They didn't even understand that portion. So the key to this whole thing is conversation, which now as Torah, as our
Kind of
New
breaking up,
Testament.
Danyalah. You kind of breaking up, brother.
What's the last thing you heard?
The last thing we actually hear clear was probably about when you were saying that when you guys had that meeting with the brothers at Shema Israel. You was talking about that and going into that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right.
I can hear
What
you.
I was saying, I apologize if I repeat myself. What I was saying is that because we forged a friendship and we put all of our doctrines aside, and we came together and we did the Kemenon trial thing and we did the women's intuition thing, just as Israelites, New Testament, Old Testament, these were tenets in which we all embraced. We did those events together. We forged a friendship and a respect so that their ears were open to what we were teaching as far as where we were coming from New Covenant. Because they were looking at us as though we taught the New Testament the way an average, basic Christian, Sunday school going Christian taught the New Testament, which none of us do. That's the impression that they had. And they would have impressed had they not at least had a respect and a friendship with us. And based on the friendship and the respect they had for us, when we had that discussion that night, the sincere came to myself, and maybe they came to Divine too. And they told us, you know, we didn't know that that's the way that y'all taught the New Testament. You know, now we have to look at it differently because we understand y'all don't teach it the way that we taught it. Y'all teach it from a Torah-based perspective. All those things come from being able to have a conversation. The same way now we're on the phone tonight having a conversation. Although we have differences, because we respect one another, we're having a conversation. This is where it starts. It starts simply with us respecting one another. You know, having an open ear and being open to listen to one another, especially when you know another brother is educated and knowledgeable and studies and research, as I know the brother James, I know the brother Divine do. So I'm not talking to men that haven't done their own research and come to a conclusion based on the research they have, even though I may disagree with them. But I'm open to listen to them because I know that when these brothers come with information, it's based on real research. And once that respect is there, everything will pave the way for us, you know what I'm saying, to build and forge a relationship. It was not so prior to that Kemenon trial thing that we did together. It just was not so in the Israelite community, I'm telling you. You know, much less 10 years ago. So that's where we start. We have to continue to respect each other, listen to each other, hear each other out, and really go back and be with an open mind, research the information that we are all presenting, and then from there, everything else will pave the way for us to have a better relationship. No one is saying that we're always all going to agree, because that's not going to happen. I may research something that somebody said, somebody may research something that I said, and they may still hold their opinion that they have. But I could see why that brother Danyalah came to that conclusion based on information he brought out, because I wouldn't research that. I can see why he thinks that way. And when we do it that way, everything else will fall into place and we'll be able to work together. But again, and I'm speaking strictly from a One West perspective, I'm telling you, no one, brothers I came up with, everyone is not like myself and Hashar. That's not going to happen. So, and everyone is not like the brothers that's on the phone, that's on the RBG perspective. They won't want to work with us either. That's not going to happen. So those of us that are open-minded, we have to work together and go forward, and that's it. I'm just going to end it right there.
Okay.
10-4, 10-4. That was well said. Divine, can you piggyback off that?
Yes, I'm gonna tofu back off that. I'm gonna give my final remarks as well. I mean, first I want to give honor to Priest Danyalah because he's been in this walk way longer than I have been, and you have to be able to, like he said, give respect. You know, even if me and him did have some slight differences, the fact that he was able to endure this walk for 25 years is a testament of his persistence, his passion, and his dedication to his craft. So, you know, that's something that just can't be overlooked, and that's something that just can't be undermined, you know. So that's why, you know, I have a lot of respect for that brother, and why, even though I may have previously had a lot of disagreements with One West brothers, when I speak to civil-minded and level-headed brothers such as Danyalah, and you know, and I admire his courage in street preaching that he does almost each and every Shabbat, which takes a lot of endurance. It takes a lot of discipline. I mean, you cannot knock these brothers for the skill set and strengths that they do have. You know what I'm saying? So those things I have to admire him for and give honor what honor is due, because he is a true elder here on the line. So the main thing, like he said, was conversation and respect. You know what I'm saying? So we have to have an open ear. The open ear leads us to respecting a person based on their disposition, and then that opens the way up for interaction or conversation. The one thing that I will say that I've noticed is that, you know, we normally got together when we felt there was a common opposition, right? So I know when I came into interfacing with a lot of my One West brothers, fully, it was in 2014. You know, when I first came on the conscious scene, you know, I was doing my work before I came in the conscious scene, but when I came in the conscious scene, I was exposed to these One West Israelite brothers, most notably Hashar and Danyalah, and Elder Gabar and Awan Yasap from GOCC, and then eventually, or also around the same time, Nazi Ashuvel, and then later on Moreh Yeshaya, etc. So, you know, my interface with them happened when there was a time period when there was a Kemenon trial debate, and a lot of that stirred up in the summer of 2014. The summer of 2014, that's when I actually first, I can't say met, because I met Danyalah, but it wasn't formal. He was on the street preaching, and I was a Christian asking him questions. But when we had the ISUBK cookout in 2014, that's when I actually met him formally. That's when I met Hashar formally. That's when I met Tazaria formally. At that time, they didn't really know who I was or anything like that. But because I admire the comradeship that they had, I admired the passion. I admired the fact that Danyalah, even though he's being very diplomatic tonight, he stands very strong on his square. He's a very intelligent brother. You know, he knows how to navigate. He knows when it's time to show force. He knows when it's time to fall back and listen. He's very, very smart and intelligent. So it's only when I had that opportunity to actually meet him and actually talk to him behind the street preaching that I really was able to admire his tenacity, right? So I would say, because we had a common opposition at the time, which was the Kemetic community, and I'm not saying I hate the Kemetic community or anything like that, but they were attacking us, so we were on the defensive. And being on the defensive, it allowed us to come together on the common denominator of the scriptures and our Israelite culture and history that was under attack. But it allowed us to go on the offensive against them. But in order to do that, we had to come together as one body. We had to share and exchange resources. We had to say, listen, at least for this event, we're not going to discuss our differences. We're not going to let them divide us. We're going to come together and we're going to show force. So I think is whenever there's a common opposition, whether it's white supremacy, whether it's the police killing us in the street, whether there's a lack of resources in the community, whether there's an intellectual think tank that's attacking us, it forces us to come together and work together. And this is why I say that the core concept of the RBG element of us being Hebrew Israelites is that we show a degree of diplomacy when we're under a common attack and we need common resources, and we're willing to work with whoever we're willing to work with in order to aggregate those resources. So like the brother Danyalah said, when we had those type of opportunities and we came together, we were actually able to talk, and we went to go each other's camps and congregations and talk to each other about things that had nothing to do with scriptures, and then we would talk about the scripture a little bit. We build a comradeship, and I think that that's important because, and I'll put it out like this, when there's young brothers that go in and listen to the army, right? You go in and listen to the army, and you are representing whatever that nation is in the army. These are brothers who have various different ethnic backgrounds, different things that they like, dislike, different hobbies, interests, different ways of life. But when they come together because there is an enemy that needs to be fought, and they come together and they put aside those differences temporarily to work together, what tends to happen is a conversation, like the brother Danyalah says, gets placed on the table where we can speak, we can get to know each other personally, we can respect each other's differences and admire each other for our strengths and so forth. And these things continuously allows us to build a brotherhood, because even if you have a blood family, even a friend, a best friend, you're never going to agree on everything. You know what I'm saying? That's just not going to happen. That's not practical. That's not realistic. But because of a mutual respect for the purpose that person has in their life, and because that purpose is common. When the Messiah was here and people said to him, well, your brother and your mother and so forth is asking for you, he said, those you see that do the will of my Father, those are my brothers, those are my sisters, those are my family. So when I see that priest Danyalah, even though he may have some differences than me, is out there trying to wake our people up. That is my brother. He is doing the will of the Most High by waking our brothers up. Now, aside from him, there may be other One West brothers that I may not agree with their delivery, but objectively looking at it, sometimes you need different methods of delivery to wake different people up, because the people that he can wake up is people that I can wake up. The people I can wake up, he may not be able to wake up. But when we come together and we work together, then we can do so in mass as a unit. So I think the most important thing is that what brought us together in the past couple of years, and I think it started with the Nazi Yashuvel debate and the Tazariak and Polite debate and Nazi and Steady debate. When we had these two different situations, Israelites were coming together, what I'm saying, and talking and intermingling and hanging out. Things that like Priest Danyalah said would not have happened 5-10 years ago, and he's been in it for 25 years. What I'm saying? So the fact that he's able to see these things happen in these latter times is a testament to see the evolution and the direction that we're going to come together. Remnant is waking up and coming together, so that way we can fight a united front against all of these various attacks. And like I said, coming together, we have caused each other to step up our game. Whether that's how we deal with one another, whether that's how we deal with the information, whether that's deal in our consistency in worshiping the Most High, etc. We have forced each other to step it up, and in doing so, we see the growth and development, and that we can respect in one another. So ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all about nation building, which is about the preservation of the community. We all have a foundation of Torah. All of us here on the line tonight, we agree in the Mashiach and his coming in regards to redeeming Israel, and we know that in the interim, we're not sitting on our butts. We know we have a job to do in waking up our people, building our community, so that way we could be the ecclesia without spot and without blemish as we await our redemption. So with that being said, I want to close down on that and say I thank my brother Priest Danyalah for being on the phone, my brother Gedalia as well, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name, because they represent the One West thought. But as people can see, We wasn't cursing each other out. We wasn't arguing. We wasn't over talking each other. We show mutual respect for one another. We allow each other to get our voices heard, our points going across. And it's only when this type of dialogue happens in this civil matter where people see that there are less and less differences between us. There are more and more commonalities. And now we can come to the table and work together to better our community.
All right,
Okay.
Brother James.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hold on.
Kadai.
Before we close out, Divine, also let the family know how to reach out and get it, get to your channels or look at some of your presentations too, because he's a very powerful brother. He brings a lot of information. So, let the people know how to find you and stuff.
Okay, no problem. First, I want to give a shout out to Maccabees TV. Maccabees TV is also spearheaded by Priest Danyalah. I have some information on it as well. I know he could be found on Maccabees TV, and he'll probably also let you guys know how you can get in touch with him. But the reason why I mentioned Maccabees TV first, because Danyalah was one of the founders of Maccabees TV, and the express purpose of that is to showcase the diversity within our community. You know what I'm saying? So I support Maccabees TV 100% because everything we're saying now, that platform is designed to bring that diversity of information, worldviews, etc., to the table, so that way people can see that we can have these differences and still work together on a common brotherhood. Me, myself, the organization that I founded, that I spearheaded, and that I lead is called Kingdom Harbinger Ministries. You could type in Kingdom Harbinger Ministries on YouTube and find my YouTube channel. I have several videos on a variety of different subject matters. You'll even see some videos that I've done with my brother Danyalah and Hashar and Nazi on my channel, because I also want to showcase the solidarity that I have working with them, again, which is better exemplifying my RBG stance. Also, the last two things that I'll mention in regards to what's on my channel, I did a full lecture on the calendar, because I know that's one thing that we have differences in our community. So I did a 3-part series that you can go and look up. It's called Cultural Liberation Through Research and Application. And the name of the lecture, subheading of the lecture is The Jubilee of B1 14-18, Redeeming the Pre-Exilic Israel's Menological Identity from the Captivity of Babylon and Others. Yes, I know that's a mouthful, but pretty much what I'm saying is that I'm actually giving a dissertation on the calendar and the development of the calendar, the various different layers within the calendar, different things that people have not seen in the text that I bring out in the calendar. And all I was doing was giving my objective perspective on how I accumulated the data via inductive research and be able to provide a conclusion, right? I'm not saying it's definitive. I'm not saying it's better than anybody else. But what I've done was that I showcased my entire journal of data and how I came to my conclusion. And even if people don't agree with the conclusion, I've disseminated a lot of good information that people can still take and they can apply in their various areas of study. And the second thing that I have on that video, I'm gonna end off on that, is that I had a recent discussion that was supposed to occur this past weekend in LA, but unfortunately the bishop never showed up. But what I did with that is that I gave another dissertation on the Hebrew Israelite ideology from our perspective, because a lot of time the reception of our community is skewed because of a lot of extremists that may be out there. So what I wanted to do was remove the sensationalism and just lay the foundation so that way the Christian community can see the basic tenets that we stand upon, and our Hebrew Israelite community can use this information to go back and give to their Christian brothers, sisters, and family members, so that way it's a diplomatic way of conveying to them the major tenets of our faith that the majority of us agree upon. So you'll be able to see both those things on my YouTube channel, and I'm hoping that with this material and others that I have on there, that I can contribute to the betterment overall edification of the community, because I don't have 25 years in like my brother Danyalah, but in a short period of time that I've been an Israelite, I've done my best to work with the community and contribute to community, even do activism, all for the sake of saying that, I want to be counted in with those brothers because of the hard work they put in, and I want to make the Most High proud.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, brother. Now I think you wanted to bring in Brother James.
Yeah, we're gonna bring in Brother James, and then after that, we're gonna let Danyalah give his contact info, and then we're gonna close it out. We're gonna wrap it up. Brother James.
Okay, no problem. First, again, I want to give praises to the Most High, And I want to be thankful again for being on this panel with such esteemed men. I mean, they work in the community. I mean, my two little videos pale in comparison to all the work that these two brothers have done in the community. And I've learned a lot from them, and I appreciate everything that they've done. But only thing that I can maybe add on to this conversation would be something that Torah teaches. So there's no reason for any Hebrew Israelite to be against it. And the New Testament teaches that we have to do group economics. That's something that's very, very important that we need to start doing. And I'm not just talking about group economics to the extent where we're buying things from other Hebrew Israelite brothers or other African, quote unquote, as they call so-called African American brothers, but where we pool our money together in order to do different things. Like I was myself starting to learn, study. I already fix up houses now. Um, so I wanted to learn how to do that and then start a real estate investment trust for the Hebrew Israelite community where we pulled our money together. And since I'm down here in Houston, you know, property's cheaper down here, so it doesn't cost much to get a house, fix it up, maybe rent it out for a couple years, get your money back you put into it, and then sell it. You know, and then the people would get the residuals from the income that's made on it, and that way we'll be practicing group economics together, and everyone is getting money, so they won't have to worry about feeding their family or doing this, and they can continue to push the message. And I also think that is important for us to do these type of things because God doesn't only require us to be priests. I see that in our community, we are excellent when it comes to being priests. Everyone wants to get out there, preach that word, but we're forgetting that we are a royal priesthood. And we also have to stand up and be kings because we are kings and priests. And what kings do is they get their people together to move towards goals that's for the betterment of our community. And though for the most part, at least the messianic half of the Hebrew Israelite community, we know that we have our king already, but that doesn't stop us from standing up and being princes in our king's kingdom and ruling over our people and making sure that they have the necessities to get by in life so they can focus on praising the Most High, which is what He created them to do anyway. That's about all that I can add to it. And if you want to see anything that I've done, like the work that Priest Danyalah was talking about, you can go on to Global Media Inc., Brother Basim's channel. I did 2 presentations to show on how our people originated in what we will call the Middle East, how we were the people that were ruling back in the early prehistoric times and stuff like that, and how we brought agriculture and civilization and different things like that into the Nile Valley, other parts of Africa. And this also extends throughout the world, but I didn't go that much into the information. And we did a little bit of information to show a lot of the ancient architecture and how some of the architecture that Egypt is famous for also originated in the Mesopotamian or Levant region. I mean, it's a lot of good information that links it right back to things that are going on in West Africa, even to this day, different tribal things. I mean, it's an interesting presentation, and I'll tell anyone to go check it out. Again, it's on Global Media Inc., and it's called Israel and Mesopotamia, Cradle of Civilization and Father of Egypt, Part 1 and 2. And that's it.
Is it you want to give out any contact information, James?
Oh yeah, you can find me on Facebook if you want to get in contact with me. That's why I stay in contact with a lot of brothers in the community. It's James Cassell, James common spelling, Cassel. You see a picture of my 2 little boys on there, and that'll be me. They're wearing like little plaid shirts and whatnot. So, and that'll be me right there. Add me as a friend, and I'm always down to speak with other brothers and communicate with them. That's how me and D got into contact with each other, and we both found out we down here in Houston, so we plan on linking up and trying to do some things together.
All right, then y'all, you want to give out any contact info? And you need to start putting up more videos on Maccabees, man. You're slipping. Old school, you're slipping.
Your brother's been getting on me tonight, man. It's all good. I love it. Step my game up. It's all good. I appreciate y'all young brothers, man. Well, I'll start off with Maccabees TV. So, Maccabees TV, it's not my channel per se. All of us, Nasi, Ashubel, Hashar, myself, Divine, we decided we wanted to try to build some type of platform for Hebrew Israelites that was outside of Sinai TV. And I give a shout out to Sinai because he allows us to come on this platform and push this word too. So I have to give him a shout out on that. I can't hate on the brother on that. I know some brothers may be like, they have their differences with the brother, but he does allow us to come on there. And I personally get a lot of correspondence from people that see me on there, aside from Maccabees TV. But anyway, Maccabees TV, I'm basically the person that puts up the videos and I answer the emails and so forth and so on. So you can hit me up on Maccabees TV. You can hit me up on another YouTube page called Yahweh's Watchman. Yahweh's Watchman, that's on YouTube as well. I answer all the emails on there. Yeah, you can hit me up on Facebook at Daniel Benjamin. Daniel Benjamin, that's me on Facebook. I have another page, but that was shut down. So this is my new page, Daniel Benjamin on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, you can hit me up on Priest, Danyalah Benjamin, Priest _ Danyalah _ Benjamin on Instagram. I reach out to everybody, man. I appreciate, you invite me onto the show tonight. I appreciate my brother James and my brother Divine. I appreciate the work that these brothers are doing as well. And I've always prided myself. I came up under a really, really humble elder, who, regardless of his time in the truth, he was humble and respectful for me when I was a very young man in my teens, for what I was, contributing to the truth, even at a very young age. So I try to duplicate that, and, I want to let you know that I appreciate, don't ever get it twisted. When I tell people how long I've been in the truth, that's just how long I've been in the truth. Doesn't mean that you brothers are doing any less or have done any less to contribute to this nation, because there's, hundreds and thousands of people that have watched both of your presentations and they've learned. I'm saying? I'm sure some of them reach out to you, but some of them reach out to you. You brothers are doing a great job bringing this people, bringing this word, especially with this push to bring people to Kemet. That presentation that you did, Brother James and Brother Divine, when you did yours, was very, very important to show people the distinction between Mesopotamia and Kemet. You know what I'm saying? And we give Kemet a lot of respect for being a civilization that contributed much things to, history. They did a lot of great things within their history. You talk about thousands and thousands of years of history in Kemet, and we respect it. And I had to tell Brother Reggie recently as the other day, that when we come against Kemet, we're not saying that Kemet wasn't a great society, because we know it was, and it contributed much, but the romanticization of Kemet is the reason why we come against Kemet. Like, brothers have to keep it real. If they kept it more real, we would never have to say a cross word about Kemet. They kept it real. Keep it real. Mesopotamia came before Kemet, and there was certain things within Kemet that was not righteous. It was wicked. If they could keep it real the way the scriptures keep it real, the way the Bible tells us the good that we as Israelites did and the bad that we as Israelites did, if they kept it real, there'll be no conversation. But they lie a lot, so that's the reason why we have to come against them. So you brothers are doing a great job, man. I appreciate all the work that y'all did, and y'all inspired me as a brother that's been in this for a while. That I got to step my game up. I definitely know both of you. I don't want to single either one of you brothers out. Both of you brothers inspired me to study and research more. I saw that presentation Divine did on Sinai TV when he's showing what he has in his book, and I said to myself, man, you know what I'm saying? Bro, put so much information out, it was ridiculous. It was mind-boggling, and to the point where them guys couldn't say nothing. So I appreciate the work that you're doing. I appreciate my brother Danyalah as well. All of y'all. Let's continue doing what you're doing, man. This is the truth. The Israelite nation, and what we're pushing, this is the truth. There's no other truth other than this, outside of this. Just keep doing what y'all doing, man. I love y'all brothers, man. And the old man got to go to sleep. That's it.
All right, bro. Hey, fam, man. We finna close it out, man. We gotta let the priest man go to sleep. And man, we love y'all, man. We appreciate the brothers for coming on. Uh, shoot, this is your boy D Red, the Blue Collar Scholar. Your boy G'day. We signing out, baby. Deuces.
I want to add something, but because I wanted to say thanks to all the brothers for coming on to the show and dropping the knowledge and giving it to the people. And right now, we just trying to nation build, come together, put our differences to the side, just contribute to the nations. We also putting together a show where the sisters going to be discussing, different things amongst the sisters too. So that's going to be coming. I just want to say peace to the family. And
Yo, can I say something real quick? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, brother.
I want to give a shout out to my brother, the Blue Collar Scholar, and I'm going to tell you why. I got a lot of respect for this brother. You know why? Because the brother comes to me. You know what I'm saying? What I respect about him is the brother comes to me in my inbox if you don't like something I do. And speaks to me about it. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of who I am or who I'm supposed to be and how long I've been, if he has an issue with something that I'm doing that he don't like, he'll come to my inbox and be like, yo, Priest, you shouldn't be doing that. Here's the reason why. That is something that's needed within the Israelite community. YouTube was not created for us to use it as a tool or weapon or Facebook. It just was not. There's way too much of us Israelites that's doing that.
You breaking up. You kind of breaking up again.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you still kind of breaking up.
Me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Again, I want to give a shout out to Luke Pascal.
You back breaking up again. I don't know what's going on. It's kind of breaking up again.
So I want to shout the brother out because it's like you said, he comes into my inbox, regardless of who I am, I'm supposed to be, or how long I've been, around like that. If he has an issue with it, he comes in the inbox, Priest, I don't think he should be C and D. I respect it. Not that, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram was not made for us as Israelites to tear each other down. You know what I'm saying? And I respect what that brother did because some Israelites to the internet, to tear another. Really get away from that, man. So I want to shout that brother out, man. I respect what you do. I know that you have sometimes some issues with certain things that I do, but I respect the fact that you come to me as a brother, and I take back that, brother. I want to say that, in front of everybody. I told you that already, behind the scenes, but I want to take my hat off to you in public, man. I appreciate you coming to me as a brother, man, and not trying to tear me down in front of people. And that's really, really important. We all can learn from that. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much it, man.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, everybody. While we on live, man, I'm gonna be working on a long series. It's gonna be called the Isms, man. We're gonna be breaking down communism, socialism, capitalism, nationalism. We're gonna be breaking all the isms, that feminism. We're gonna be breaking all these isms down, man, and trying to figure out which political structure is best for our people. So just stay tuned for that, man. So we're gonna be working on a whole lot of stuff over here. And James, you already know what we working on. I already heard my boy Kurt about the urban gardening, man. So we got that on lock, man. And so we just need to meet up with him. We just need to meet up with him. He already got it going at Westbury, man. So we trying to implement it at every school down here. Use that as a platform to where the schools can sell the fruit, the vegetables that they grow, and they can subsidize for what they're not getting as far as the budget from the city. So he gonna break it down with us, man. We gonna work it out. But yeah, we got that in the works. So people be looking for that. So that's it.
All right. Well, we're gonna say thank you to the panel. Tune in to the people that's listening. We want to thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, share this with the family so they can see the show. And with that, we're going to say peace out.